everyone, Kuro the Artist here, and welcome back to another Ben 10 breakdown. There are many twists in Ben 10, but none that quite reach the levels in which I'm going to cover today. There's the basic twists of the villains teaming up only to betray the other one in the last second. There's twists that weren't originally planned, but added to help flesh out some of the otherwise empty part of the lore. And finally, twists that full-on retcon previous parts of the lore, changing what was once believed into something entirely different. But the reason why I like the twist in this episode is because of how solid they pulled off the storyline. It wasn't a generic or expected plot point, it wasn't changing the lore, and it was fully planned from the start, making it feel well-rounded, polished, and interesting. You must have guessed by now that I'm talking about the twist that Bullfrag was actually Ben the whole time.
Who else would come up with a dumb name like Bullfrag?
After Ben was banished from Earth by the Incursion invasion, he transformed into an Incursion himself, infiltrated their army, and used a new Omnitrix feature called the Lifeform Lock so that he wouldn't transform back to human and remain as Bullfrag as long as he needed to. He even worked alongside the heroes while keeping his identity a secret the best he could, although he couldn't fool his own family.
I got you, Grandpa. Ben.
Now, this is not the most game-changing twist, nor is it a huge part of the episode, but this twist stands out from all the rest because it actually had a chance at fooling the audience. There were enough hints to put it together early if you were paying attention, but I'd argue that it still doesn't ruin the grand reveal. I also love this plotline because it shows yet another way of Ben putting the Omnitrix to full use, as we've known since Secret of the Omnitrix that the device was meant to walk a mile in other person's shoes to create universal understanding and harmony. But we rarely see the watched used for anything outside of combat, or Ben fooling around. Disguising himself as an Incursion to become one of them and then take them down from the inside is an amazing use for the Omnitrix, one that was also briefly used against Pandor in Ultimate Alien.
It's me. By Valvin.
It's rare that we get to see unique uses for the Omnitrix at this point in the franchise, so Bullfrag's undercover mission is a breath of fresh air. Just like Ben having to step up and mediate the discourse between the citizens of Bellwood and Undertown, this is another way to challenge Ben and put him in new scenarios without either having to nerf his power or write him as an idiot. I really wish we got more of this kind of stuff instead of just breaking the Omnitrix again every time a power-hungry villain shows up, but hey, at least we got it here. Though the twist could have also been spoiled for you had you played the Omniverse tie-in video game simply titled Omniverse 2.
Hey, yeah, just like old times. You, me, in an alien closet.
This story is actually canon to the main series, and gives you more insight on what happened during the month of Ben's banishment, and how he unlocked Bullfrag.
Give it a try. Hey, yeah, not bad.
Unfortunately, the game isn't that great, but I always find it fascinating when supplementary material is canon to the main source. Anyways, I'm very excited to talk about this episode, so let's just jump right in. But first, if this is your first breakdown and you're curious about how my rating system works, there's a detailed description down below, along with a link to all my previous breakdowns, but by all means, watch this video first, I'm sure you'll still enjoy it. There's also a ton of stuff I want to update y'all on, like the ship hunt, but I'm going to save those for the final thought, so please make sure you stick around to the end of the video. And as I stated last episode, we're about to do another upload hiatus to work on 5-Way Ellen and beyond, but I have a proposition. We are currently almost at 100 YouTube members and 400 Patreon members, with just a handful of new recruits needed to reach each of these goals. Our tiers start at just $1, and if we can meet these goals by next week, I will upload a full 5-minute preview of 5-Way Ellen episode 10 for all of the supporters to enjoy. Your support really makes a difference, and we appreciate you joining the squad that helps us fund these wonderful projects. And during our downtime, you can still catch me streaming every Tuesday at 2 p.m. EST, and if you do end up supporting us, we have our weekly updates and our exclusive streams. Now, on to the episode. Len Uli gave us the episode The Frogs of War Part 2 on March 16th, 2013. A month has passed since the last episode, so the Incursions have fully integrated themselves as Earth's new leaders. The heroes have formed a resistance to fight back, but just when it seemed like things weren't going anywhere, a mysterious new hero arrives to give them a helping hand. I didn't comment on the design of this last time, but I really like the shape of it. But aside from sending prisoners out into space, I can't imagine what else this vehicle would be used for. So is this something that the Incursions do often? They're just like, we're taking over your planet, put your strongest leader in the pod, ship them off to space. World's greatest heroes floating around in these pods all over Incursion airspace. Ultimos floats by in another pod like, oh, you too, huh? Also seems to be traveling. I wonder where it's going.
What? How did I... Right.
That was an interesting way to do a part 1 recap. Instead of the fourth wall breaking previously on, they added it to this episode to have Ben remembering it. That's pretty clever.
I usually wouldn't say this, but at least things can't get any worse.
Sounds like it could be a callback to Outbreak.
At least things can't get any worse.
Are you crazy? Never say that out loud.
Well, at least things cannot get any worse.
Dude, still think it couldn't get any worse?
I thought you said not to say that.
You made me say it.
Would you rather I say things cannot get any worse?
You are so pushing your luck right now, man.
But immediate karma. I love how they not only draw the box glitching out, but the text is drawn glitched out too. Although before it shows up, there's purple lighting in here. But then once this goes out, the purple lighting disappears as if the hologram was the source of the purple light.
I hate you, universe.
Now we've gotten this shot of Bellwood quite a few times, but now we get to compare it to all of the incursion destruction. All the ships are gone from the deck, craters in the ground, buildings in the bridge are destroyed. It's gonna be pretty hard to repair once the invasion's over.
My friends.
Although interesting with this shot, this bridge wasn't destroyed from the incursion invasion. This was actually back in season 1. You can even see the damage is exactly the same on the bridge. This lamppost here too. Everything else, yeah, that's the incursions. But it's cool to see that lasting continuity, that ever since the battle with the Screech It, they just haven't been able to repair this bridge yet.
A month has passed.
Lasting consequences. Already off to a great start, knocking through the usual Ben 10 tropes of everything going back to normal. Not only did Ben lost, but time passed. That's very interesting. Closest I could think of something like that happening was in Time Heals, but that was an alternate timeline, so it's kind of cheating. But I mean, the Scare, the Esoterica, the Hybrid. This is causing permanent global changes to the Ben 10 universe, which automatically makes this story seem more significant.
Establishing a new era of order and tranquility.
Will Haring still dick riding the frogs? We saw these two together in the last episode too. I'm gonna imagine that they're brother and sister.
They have ousted the plumbers.
So two things about that. One, damn, poor Max's shop. This is another modified background. But secondly, this is also another big deal. The whole world is aware of the plumbers. The world has been aware of aliens existing ever since Classic, and they've been slowly becoming more and more understood and commonplace, especially with the fact that Ben's identity was revealed last series. But this is another game changer. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it being revealed in such an offhanded way like this, but with how much this episode covers, I understand why they needed to just gloss over it, but it's still like a very big deal that's just dropped in here through Will Harang's narrative.
A seditious ring of spies.
Except he's totally lying to the public about what they are. But look at that, Molly Gunther has officially been promoted to Alpha Squad. That also happened in between episodes.
Our benevolent leaders have banished the traitorous menace Ben Tennyson for good.
Month goes by and he's still hounding about that.
We all owe the incursions an immense...
Yes!
I've always been fascinated by this area of Bellwood. I feel like we just don't see this part of the city too much. It's normally the open streets or the suburbs. Although Omniverse does show off the highways a lot more too. And I like these little cruisers. I think these are new as well. So the incursions have a lot of vehicles. They got their main ships, Milius's flagship, Atea's ship, the lily pads, the war wheel, and this thing. And then later on, Atea's mini war wheel as well.
Kevin?
Look, Gwen. Argit. Argit was not who I was expecting to see in this kind of episode. I certainly warm up to Argit the more I see him, but still, a lot of the stuff he's done, I just can't forgive. Sure, he's not the worst character in Ben 10, but it's not like Rook and the main trio are constantly being written to be best buds with like Vilgax or Agrigor, whereas Argit's fucking him over basically every time he shows up, but they're still just like, oh, hey, good buddy. That's what makes it bothersome for me.
Ben would have loved that.
So this gang formed a small resistance and did that bombing on live TV to loot a bunch of incursion supplies and weapons, I assume.
I told you it would work, Dream.
Never mind.
Poor Blukich. His whole shtick doesn't work without Driba. And it's interesting to split them up too. They're a signature pair that the past 3 seasons has been emphasizing that they're always together and they bounce off each other. So seeing them without each other continues to emphasize that there are stakes in this episode. But there's that frog sound effect that's used everywhere.
Or we could run away.
Damn, he's talking pretty loud though. I told you.
Argit's got a point. Leave the weapons!
Leave the weapons. Okay, that's not what Argit said, Kevin. The whole world has been invaded by frogs. They should kick their ass and send them back to the bog. We're seeing a lot of new areas in Bellwood, and they all have very non-standard architecture for a cartoon show. So I was pausing to say it's funny that Rook is holding Argit, but also reveals that these stairs right here are being overlapped over Rook and Argit, and Gwen rolls on her back to protect Blukich from the fall. But I think this is the same warehouse location from UAF. Well, there are dumpsters in similar looking buildings. It's not exactly the same, so I don't think it's a full-on background redraw, but I do think this is supposed to be the same location. That's a neat looking car. 3 wheels. Now, I'm not a car person, but I have to imagine some of you out there are. Is there any advantage to having wheel patterns like this? Is this meant for a certain type of terrain or for some type of maneuvering and navigation? Or does it just look cool? I'm genuinely interested. Because I have seen cars in real life that look like this. This isn't just in the show. But I've always wondered, is it like an aesthetic thing, or does this type of wheel arrangement serve a greater purpose? I like how Kevin's the one to notice the car. So the incursions are pretty smart with their aim, at least right here. They shoot in front of them to try to get them caught in the blast, but they also just drive right through it. Nice try. Smooth. Already a very eventful chase. No! That was crazy fast reaction times from Kevin too. He started turning away from it before the sign even finished crashing. Going up the stairs. I'm not a big fan of chase scenes, but I've always loved this. In fact, this should have been a level in Omniverse too. It would have been cool to have a bonus level where you're playing as the gang racing around, dodging the incursions. Loved that part too, where he's driving backwards. And they're driving down all of these structures too. It just makes this so interesting. You can hear someone screaming there, but I can't think of who it would be. It doesn't look like anyone screaming or really sound like them either. But freezing like this does point out some layering issues with this vehicle, but you would never notice this kind of stuff in motion. So even right here, how this road has like slight elevation and these fancy guardrails on each side, Omniverse makes this city so interesting to look at. It's not just flat streets and buildings to fill up the space. I don't want to throw too much shade at that type of background stylization though. Most of the time backgrounds are done like that just because it's easier to composite the main animation into the background. So when you think about this chase right here, with all of this different elevation, all the different angles they're being at, all the different terrain, and they're doing this with backgrounds that have 2D animation with a CG car, which has 2D characters composited on it, and they're even adding shadows to the CG car. Additional animations as well for emphasis. There's so many things that go into these shots. It's mesmerizing to look at, and it makes it feel more energetic. And you get this explosion reveal of this hand. You get your first real good look at it in this reflection here. Then boom, slams into frame. And as the ground gets slammed up, Kevin turns the car around and launches up it like a ramp. Incredible. You can even see Rook hanging on for dear life right here and see the engine underneath the car. Look at the way they land too. They smack against this roof and Rook and Argent actually fly off, as does a tire popping off. Oh my god, and Rook smacks Argent into the back of the building like this with his full weight. You know what, good for you, Rook. Argent deserves that. And they lost the car.
Any more bright ideas?
Oh, come on, it was working for a bit.
You can come out.
Now this guy right here was in the Omniverse 2 video game. I used to think it was related to Bauman just because he looks a little bit like him, but he's not. He's just known as the Watchmaker, no name for him. He's voiced by John DiMaggio though.
Thanks.
Harboring resistance fighters is dangerous.
Plenty folks out there just like me, ready to help.
It's a small moment, but I like this too. Showing the entire world is trying to fight back in their own ways, even if they can't be directly in the field or engaged in combat.
Can I have these batteries?
Bauman's shop seems to be untouched, and he's scrubbing his counter like he's still in business. Maybe the incursions just really fuck with Bauman's store. They're like, don't touch this area though. This is the only place to get Aldebeta Bear and Fangs on this side of the galaxy. So this shot has a lot to it. Omniverse has always been very diverse with how they handle Kevin's absorbing abilities. Here, this really shows it off. You see he's a lot thicker and not only has stone textures, but different pebbles coming off of him. Gwen's in her Lucky Girl outfit, which at the time, she's still not a notable hero, so functions as a disguise. Rook is back in his disguised outfit, which we first saw in the More Things Change Part 1. Still looks pretty ridiculous. And we've never seen this outfit on Argent before, but just looks like something he threw on. Do you think Bauman's always had that secret button, or did he get this installed in the past month? Last time he was secretly harboring people, he just shoved them in the back. Now he's got a secret compartment. And if you look real close, you can see some tiffin right here. God, I love the taste of babies. And is this a plumbus?
It is unfortunate that we had to abandon those weapons.
I don't think y'all actually had to, but alright.
We need more than this.
We dodged the way-bads for 2 weeks getting this stuff to Bellwood.
So they only just got back to Bellwood. I wonder what their other journeys were like and where they might have gone. And it's neat because a lot of these weapons I don't think we've seen before. Usually with shots like these, we get like the same 5 or 6 weapons that get repeated in the backgrounds, but these all look pretty new.
I was not questioning your judgment.
You're so polite.
right.
And when you spend too much time with the same people, you do tend to get annoyed at them, so this type of tension, especially being under global attack, is understandable.
If a frontal assault is out, then it's time we tried something big.
She's got the anime glasses on, so she's spitting facts.
Like busting Grandpa Max out of Plumber headquarters.
They added a sound effect to it, too.
Like busting Grandpa Max out of Plumber headquarters.
So they're using Plumber HQ as a prison now. Makes sense because Plumber HQ already had a prison, so when Dr. Psychobos took it over last episode, they probably stole all the access codes and put it in command of the incursions, and basically using everything the plumbers got against them. They really thought this plan out. That's why I'm liking this arc so much, is it actually feels pretty believable. When Ben originally surrendered to Vilgax, it barely seemed like Vilgax had the upper hand. Sure, he defeated Gwen and Kevin, but they were able to escape so easily. Honestly, if Max didn't free them, Ben easily could, and then they would just kick their ass right there. It really feels like Ben just gave up. But here, the incursions did a lot of different things to make sure their plan would work. That's why I feel like this works a lot better. And we get a time skip to show the results of their invasion. If this wasn't filled with so many goofy frog jokes, I feel like this would be like the most devastating arc in the whole show. Ben lost, the people are suffering, and they're fighting back against mind-controlled mutant Toku stars. That sounds crazy, but it is kind of held back by Omniverse's overall tone. Not to put it down, but like, it is true. It doesn't feel as crazy or significant as it does just because Omniverse isn't that kind of show. But it's still working for me. I mean, that opening chase scene was really cool.
Just barge in. Now you're sounding like...
Ben.
Rest in peace.
Attention, Earth nobody.
What the fuck is this? This is just a hologram. There's nothing even making this show up.
I am sick of all these attacks. It's expensive and it does not do no good.
Man's got his mind on his money. Priorities are in check.
What part of
Resistance is useless. Did you like it?
Well, to be fair, you did encourage it.
resistance is futile, but encouraged for it amuses me.
But perhaps you didn't expect them to resist this hard.
Otherwise, Dr. Psychobos?
How tall is the Abraham Lincoln statue? 19 feet? That's it? Okay, new record for the smallest Toku star we've ever seen. See, this one's looking up at the Statue of Liberty. How tall is that? According to this diagram, the height of the entire foundation, including all of these parts, is about like 65 feet tall. Maybe it's because they're mutants, they're just smaller, but Weibig's been shown to be pretty small too sometimes, so they'll just never draw Toku stars consistently. I wonder if this came from a full statue of Atea, or if they just made this head just for this.
Got that?
Nothing short of snatching Psychobos and shutting down his mind control gizmo.
Go on.
No, seriously, that is a good plan.
We just saw him on Milius' ship,
But he works out of Plumber's headquarters.
so when he heads back into town, we grab him.
Okay, so I'm seeing the advantage of Arjun being here. That is some criminal mastermind thinking, and he is a criminal. So I do feel like he does serve a purpose in here. Sure, one of these other characters probably could have come up with that plan, but it's interesting that Arjun does, and it's actually a good plan. God, how big are these birds? So Milius' ship is still crashed and stationed ever since last episode, but still functional enough to run as a home base.
Psychobos isn't in the caravan.
Oh my god, I forgot that she could do that. I love whenever she does that. What is he even shooting at? Those? Was he really trying to shoot these out of the sky with a fucking pistol? Come on, Arjun, I was just giving you props. Don't ruin this.
Atea, do you remember we had a deal?
Oh, he was signaling Atea. Oh, goddamn. I forgot about this part. Damn it. It sounded like a great plan, too. Come on, Arjun. See, how do they keep being cool with this guy? At this point, it's on them. They keep doing it to themselves. If I was them, the second I would see him, I would send him as far away from me as I could. I wouldn't even give him the time of day anymore. He's always doing shit like this. Oh, did you catch that, though? Ah, thought you could sneak it by me by turning it diagonal, huh? Yeah, I saw you.
You had a deal. I had a win.
I love that little curl in Atea's smile right here.
Princess!
You know, I couldn't even tell that this guy was taller and more jacked than all the others at first. Like, they all land and they look about the same size. Maybe he's taller? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they started drawing him as buff as Bullfrag until this reveal. But look at that. The helmets open up to reveal the tongue. I suppose they would because they're designed for incursions, but it's neat to include that feature.
Later.
So now we're introduced to Bullfrag, voiced by John DiMaggio, doing a little bit of a Rocky Balboa voice. Now, major spoilers, but again, you should be watching these breakdowns if you haven't seen the episodes already. This is Ben in disguise. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this episode, I was fooled by the twist. I didn't see it coming. I wasn't even trying to look for a twist though. Like, I didn't even question who this guy was. I want to say if I was a little more skeptical, I could have seen it coming, but I mean, I gotta be honest. Like, I didn't expect this to be Ben. And all the signs are there too, and I'll be pointing them out as we go. So like, it is kind of obvious, but it got me. It fooled me. Were y'all fooled by the twist? I'm genuinely curious if anybody else was fooled by this as well, or if they automatically knew this was Ben. So I'm gonna make that this week's poll. So go ahead, head on over there. I'm sure most of y'all got it. It's okay. You're much smarter than me. You understood. I was just too dumb to get it. I understand.
Huh?
Call me Bullfrag.
Although at least at this point so far, I don't think anybody figured it out. If y'all said you knew this was Ben just within this first scene, I think you're lying. That's cap. There's no way you knew this was Ben. You need at least a little bit more. This background's parallaxing effect is so seamless. If you look back here, you can see how they do it, but it's so well integrated. Easily one of their best. Is this a Teia's ship? No, this isn't a Teia's ship. It looks very similar to it though, but with different colors. Yeah, the incursions have so many different ships. I think they hold the record to the most amount of vehicles designated to one species. Aside from humans, that is, if you count all the cars on the road, but I feel like that shouldn't count. Wow, whoever that was had a clear shot and they missed. Ben and Rook barely had to dodge. But Teia calls for them to stop firing and smirks when they escape like this. I feel like this seeds the admiration she has for Bullfrag. Like, oh, this clever guy, he got me. She can't even be mad though.
To tell the truth, I'm feeling a bit existential.
Now this is a neat way to use her powers to levitate up the platform for such a short distance. She's done stuff like this before, but usually when it's this small, she just creates the stairs. Yeah, this is like a Teia's main monitor too. So this literally is another model of a Teia's ship. So I guess she's not the only one with this ship. It's just made for special priority frogs. And so far, we've only seen a Teiya with one of them.
She means, are you hurt?
No, she doesn't.
Huh?
What?
If you want to get psychological, this is also a good example that if you just don't feed into somebody's anger, they stop. Lukic and Driba are always arguing and constantly putting each other through the conversational ringer, whereas here, Kevin won't argue with Lukic like Driba would, so he's just instantly shut down. It is kind of sad to see him let down that his old buddy is gone, but also goes to show that if they just stopped feeding into each other's arguments, they probably wouldn't bicker so much.
I didn't hear it. Thank you.
Something like that, I feel like could be the start of the seeds to like, that's kind of a Ben thing to do. Sure, he saved them, but like immediately demanding a thank you. Yeah, I could see that getting the gears going a bit. Forgot that happens though. Although in their perspective, it is smart. They were just betrayed by Arjun. So them immediately trusting an incursion just because it saved them, I feel like they should play it safe too.
Hey, I helped you escape.
Why is that?
Isn't it obvious?
Shut it, Salamander.
I think he was about to say he was Ben right here though. But no, yeah, to me, it still wasn't obvious. I just wasn't even thinking about it. Didn't even cross my mind.
He's cool.
I love that Gwen's able to tell it's Ben just by staring at him. She's probably so used to like Ben's micro expressions. So no matter what transformation he is, he still looks like Ben to her. That's how I kind of see things too. Especially since I do all these commissioned aliens. There's just certain ways that their faces are and their expressions that you could just be like, yeah, that's Ben.
Rook, scan the room for enemy surveillance.
That's interesting though. She had to do a little magic thing in order to turn off this mana rope right here. Normally stuff like this, most notably her shield, she has to be consistently concentrating for these constructs to exist. But I like to think that this signifies that she's able to create constructs that are permanently there whether or not she's concentrating, and this is her way of turning them off. Another way of showing more growth in her abilities.
I did my sweep this morning.
Before you found out Arjun was playing both sides.
Though that's another hint towards this being Ben. Bullfrag already knew Arjun's name when he was never identified to him before.
And how do we know you're not?
When it's safe, I'll explain everything.
Although here, he's still making it seem like he can't admit that he's Ben. So back here when he says,
Isn't it obvious?
Shut it, Salamander.
I don't think he was actually going to say he's Ben anymore, just because they still could be bugged. So I wonder what he was going to say.
Ooh, you got any more of those?
And he's after the smoothies too. Yeah, all the signs are there. I don't know how this fooled me.
I asked you to throw one simple ambush. You had that traitor right in front of you, but you just stood there.
Look at these incursions laughing at Milia scolding Atea.
I would like to move on and conquer other worlds, but I can't.
My guys almost got this ship fixed.
Good to bring that up too, because the incursions have always been on the move. So the fact that his ship is broken really is a big deal for him, because now he can't continue to expand the incursion empire. Probably why he's so frustrated frustrated with all of the resistance and everything too, even though he said he likes it because he's never had to sit there and deal with the long-term results of invading a planet. He just takes over, leaves some troops, and moves on. In a way, now it seems like for the first time he actually has to be a leader because he's stationed in a location. So the procedures in which the Earth is maintained is more important to him because it affects him directly now.
If anything else goes awry,
Do not rejoin your mother in stasis.
She's still in stasis? God damn.
You become history.
And Milius just threatened to kill his own daughter, so her betraying Milius is pretty justified now. And now we're back at Max's shop. Although, if we go back to the beginning of the episode, yeah, it's the exact same shot, so we can imply that these frogs have been standing here in these exact positions for hours.
State your business.
all hail Emperor Milius.
Bro really threw the sig hail at them as if this is what the incursions do. Don't they go like this or something? Or is that just the salute that Ben and Tetrax do? Oh, the incursions kind of do a little mix of both.
Conqueror of 1,000 planets, hero to trillions, grand exalted poobah.
Okay, kiss up. You're on record.
It's kind of expected that Ben wouldn't know the whole Lord Emperor Milius speech, but this guy doesn't seem to know it either because Ben got it completely wrong. He's like, I'll let the security guys handle it. I really don't care.
Yo, rebel scum.
Another Star Wars reference. So we've been seeing Blue Kick mess with these batteries throughout the first part of this episode. Now we get to see the results of that, which is to disable the cameras. Now, he took those batteries before Arja came up with the plan to ambush the Frog Temple. So Driba probably stole those batteries just knowing they'll be useful somehow. And this wasn't his plan all along, but luckily it worked out.
First, we rescue Grandpa Max.
Absolutely.
And Bullfrag wanting to free Max, another point towards him being Ben.
Good day, Jack.
Hell yeah. Rook's kick was so powerful he cracked his helmet.
Not bad for a noob.
High praise indeed, coming from the infamous Kevin Levin.
Infamous, huh?
So despite their bickering, they're now on friendlier terms again. It was just the war that's getting to them. I love their friendship.
The incursions reset the codes.
Oh, but the cells are removable. Have we seen that happen yet?
Where have you been?
Oh, you don't have to get all mushy.
I was not mushy.
+2.
Ah, back to their toxic relationship.
We'd better find Grandpa.
You know, Patele's been featured not a ton, but he's been present for these two-parters and hasn't said a word. Guess Rob wasn't on the payroll this time around. Of course. Yep, run to go fuck up somebody else's day in a future episode, Arjit. Why is he so weak right now, though? Have they been starving him, or did they just beat him?
I got you, Grandpa. Ben.
And just like when Max immediately knew that this was Ben, too. It's those family ties.
Ben?
Ben.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, I was really shocked when I saw that. So don't forget to vote in the poll. Did you guys fall for that? Did you know it was Ben the whole time, or were you surprised by the twist? Let me know.
Bullfrag is Ben?
Who else would come up with a dumb name like Bullfrag?
Bullfrag's not that bad of a name. Although if you weren't going to name him Bullfrag, what would you name an incursion transformation? Let me know in the comments below.
I knew it was you as soon as you showed up.
My daddy will fry you alive.
Of course, you're kind of mixed up about me, aren't you?
And now Ben gets to use his greatest power, the Riz.
It's exciting going against what Daddy says, huh?
It's wild the way he's talking to her, too.
Now that I'm an incursion,
I'm seeing you in a whole new way.
I gotta imagine that there is some truth to this, though. As much as he plays off the blame this DNA joke, we've seen transformations mess with Ben's emotions. I'd fully believe that as an incursion, Ben genuinely is attracted to Atea, which is why it's so easy for him to do this.
you're special.
Oh, well.
Now, do you think she got knocked out because the spell is a knockout spell, or from the pressure of getting smacked in the face?
I'm gonna throw up.
Oh, come on, it's just a bunch of frogs.
Don't blame me, blame this DNA.
Men, am I right?
Now that they know I'm here.
Also, if you think about it, this might be the first time we see Ben as an alien wear a different outfit from his uniform that's not under like an influenced circumstance. We've seen his transformations looks get influenced by like the video game and the Fountain of Youth, but we rarely ever see it where they're just wearing a different outfit. I guess the life jacket in Back with a Vengeance counts, but that got destroyed very quickly.
Disengage life form lock.
Love whenever he uses codes like that.
Though your being here will cause us all sorts of trouble.
How'd you manage it?
Well, you see, you have to play Ben 10 Omniverse, the video game, too.
But I noticed one of my manacles was a little loose.
Though when I first watched this, I was very off-put by the solution. I was really digging everything this episode did, and then it was like, oh, but they still had a convenient cop-out for Ben escaping. But later on, it'll reveal this wasn't a stroke of luck either. This story has a lot of tightly written, great decisions. Damn, that jaw strength. Bro probably mused on the daily.
Come on.
but is still busted from Lukic and Driba messing with it after the randomizer was activated. I don't think we've seen this portal effect before. This one looks new.
Azimuth showed up a few hours later.
And I believe this is the first and only appearance of Azimuth's ship. Great design, just to be shown briefly and never show up again.
Fixed that problem I was having with the randomizer.
Oh, you don't even see it from any other angle? What a disappointment. No, somebody else had to have used this ship too, right? Or am I thinking of Luli's ship? That's crazy. What a waste of a design. You can see these little building structures on the sides of Milius' ship showing they are actually trying to repair it so that they can leave the planet.
Omnitrix lock code for incursion DNA.
Good guy, Azimuth.
Oh no, he's hot!
We have located Dr. Psychobos.
Ben!
Love the way this lightning looks. And after being imprisoned and dehydrated, Fatality's back in action, ready to fight for the Earth. What a dude.
Wave that headed this way. We're coming.
Accelerate speed trail looks different in this episode. I actually like how this looks a lot more than it normally does. There it is, like these. They still have a different effect on it than normal, but I don't really care for these lines like this. Oh, there's a little filter coming out her mouth when she roars. And we see her charging up her laser. Very similar to how Waybig charged up his. Except her starts with this burst of energy and then turns into a ring, while Waybig's was a solid circle. This is a cool shot here from the alley. Oof, that's gotta hurt.
Ben Tennyson, the frogs told us they'd finished you off.
More helpful townspeople.
Well, we're ready to fight back, humans and aliens.
I love that this invasion brought the humans and aliens closer together, and also connects to the story point in part 1 where humans were very against aliens being directly under their city. But now that they both have a mutual enemy, they can see that they're both on the same side and both care about the Earth. This guy should not be in front of the building though. Oopsies. I love this perspective through the phone, like she's alerting the world that Ben is back. And there it is, one of the most famous shots of Ben in Omniverse. This screenshot is everywhere. It's pretty cool. I mean, he looks like a fucking badass right here. And he goes way big. You can tell shit's about to get real.
Tennyson, get this thing in the air.
The maneuver in jets. Go!
That's not gonna go well. Another really cool alley shot of them passing through. Oh, right into the power lines. I love this shot here. Waybig's mega kick, sending the Waybag's head right into Undertown. I don't know which Waybig fight I like more, this one or the malware one. They're both really cool. We've seen Waybig fight giants many times before, but never more than one.
Pathetic. I control every mutant Toku star.
He's got multiple of these? Does he need one per Toku star he controls?
I can squash your resistance.
Now this is amazing. This is another one of those angles I'm always talking about where it's almost impossible to imagine. And it's like, how do people know how to draw face shapes like that from this angle? It's like, this is genius. Yeah, it might look a little goofy, but to conceptualize and draw characters' faces that look like that from this kind of angle, that is talent. Fried his brain. This also explains why cerebral crustaceans have to open up their scalp to release the lightning, because it's harmful even to them.
Dr. Psychobos no longer controls the mutants.
You see that little extra stomp he does on him just to really double down on the fuck you?
Why are they still fighting?
They're feral, you dolts. They will destroy everything in sight.
Yeah, that does still kind of suck. That means the incursions aren't safe from them either. And Waybig's getting tired.
Now what?
Well, don't ask Patella. He's not allowed to speak this episode.
I have an idea.
There we go.
Daylight at last.
So Argit gets scared and fires every single one of his quills. And it is effective. It does take down the Toku star.
You're a hero. You took down that giant.
Oh, come on. I'm seeing the irony, but man, I don't know. I got no words. Why is it gotta be Argit? Although it is in alien kind's favor. I'm glad she's filming it to show more of the human populace that aliens are on their side. Although it's interesting that missing the quills, he feels naked. Yep, more than one giant is just too much to handle, and I don't blame him. Now, coming up right here is one of Waybig's craziest feats. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this in another video, so I'll spare you the power scaling side of it, but this is the Incursion Conquest Ray, which was not only fast enough to reach Pluto, but destroy it in an instant, which Waybig is about to react to and overpower, which is insane.
No void projector!
Do you see this? Look at Patella right here.
Void projector!
He doesn't get to say it. I like that you can see the null void in their silhouette when they disappear. But yeah, sending them to the null void, that's a pretty good solution. See, that's insane. Oh, look at that. It's one of the prison pods, so I guess they're also escape pods? Surprised Millies can even fit in this, though. fucking gotcha. There it is again. And he blew up their ship.
There are waybads all over the globe.
So Rook and the rest are gonna go gather the waybads and throw them into the null void. And I love that idea too, because when they go to the null void in future episodes, there's still waybads. Like, this episode has so many permanent lasting effects. Oh, and now when Ben turns back, he goes down to the ground instead of being compressed to his center.
Emperor Milius.
This is an interesting shot because it's all of the UAF heroes. Since Rook is with the Galvins and Patelidae going around the Earth, he doesn't get to be there for this shot. But man, it's always a treat to have Gwen and Kevin around.
I still have my regular army. And a conquest ray.
He doesn't still have the conquest ray. He just blew up your ship, dude.
That puts me in charge.
And this was all Atea's master plan.
Who with the what now?
Hey, he said it again. And a literal question mark. I haven't noticed that before.
I sabotaged your exile pod.
There we go. It wasn't just a, oh, it turns out that my shackle was loose this whole time. Atea purposefully did that. That's so good.
Figured you'd break free.
You did all this so I'd take your dad down for you?
Ben's like, shit, maybe I do like her.
You were my ticket to the throne.
Wow, you are all kinds of messed up.
Now Ben goes back to Galvin, gets the sword of Ascalon, and takes over the universe with Atea. His villain arc starts here. It bugs me a little bit that Atea's helmet and scarf is the only ones being affected by the winds. Like, there's no wind blowing on any of them over here.
I walk away and take the Armada, and the Empire goes back to last year's borders.
To protect the Earth, that is a fair trade, but it still leaves a ton of other planets enslaved. At this point, taking the deal is the smart move, but they should have stopped pursuing the incursions after this. There is a lot of gray area on them not pursuing the incursions after this, because Ben's always talking about how he's a galactic universal defender, and all of those other territories are still enslaved by the incursions. So just because they won back the Earth and Ravana and everything else they got this year, because Atea just said they'd go back to last year's borders, he is kind of letting all those other territories still suffer. Does it have to be his responsibility? No. Would it really be an easy thing for him to take them down? No. Would I want to watch more seasons of him just fighting the frogs at this point? No. But it's still like a factor. It's just crazy that like the incursions weren't actually defeated. So progress is being made. It's a step in the right direction, but not everything's all peachy.
You'd be getting away clean.
The Earth accepts your terms.
Max is like, yeah, get her the fuck out of here.
But pleasure.
I guess Max speaks on behalf of the Earth, probably because he's the highest ranking plumber. But if you think about it, doesn't Ben still technically own the Earth ever since he defeated Vilgax? That is how the Conqueror's Challenge works, right? But yeah, that's probably never gonna come up again.
We'll pay for damages.
Although that's another sweet part of the deal, repairing all that stuff and paying for it. And it's funny because Milius was concerned about them spending too much money earlier in the episode, so perhaps her paying for all of the Earth damages is an extra fuck you to Milius. She's like, oh, you don't like spending money? Let's spend some more money.
I should have kept you in a stasis pod. They grow up so fast.
You wanna come with Tennyson? Turn back into Bullfrag?
Pass.
So now she's doing the tongue thing again, but this time it's for endearment rather than for asserting dominance. Honestly, I'm not sure Atea entirely works as a love interest for Ben, and I'm glad they didn't lean into it any more than this. I mean, there are upcoming episodes where it is touched on upon more, but it's never seriously considered a contender for Ben. So everything they're doing with Atea and Ben's hinted at potential relationship, I think it's good, but I feel like if they went any further, it would have been like, I don't know. Because she is still, you know, an evil dictator after all. It just wouldn't work. And trying to excuse and dance around that idea just for the fact of teasing a relationship plot line with them is taking it pretty far. So this is just enough. Joking about it a little bit, but not to the point where it's like, oh shit, are Ben and Atea maybe gonna be a thing? No. And I don't think we'd want that either.
The news is all over the internet, extranet, and even Tesser bursts.
Even the what? Have we heard that word before? There's no wiki page or transcript for it. I found another website that offers transcripts, and they label it as Tesser bursts. Oh, but Tesser bursts were also mentioned in Bros in Space. I must have missed it when it was said there. Lots of forms of vast information sharing in the Ben 10 world.
The incursions have stopped their onslaught.
Well, this year's batch of onslaught.
Ben Tennyson is back.
So this is another episode that's left me kind of speechless, mostly for the fact that everything I would say here I've already said in the major breakdown. I try not to do this too often, but I'm just going to take the easy route and go ahead and give it those 5s across the board. Very much well deserving. It's got a very interesting, engaging, and well thought out plot. I've been very expressive that this arc isn't as well connected as some of the others, like the malware or the hybrid arc, but this episode is still very strong even without as much build up towards it. The characters are all written fantastic, and it's great to have Gwen, Kevin, even Argent in a way along for the ride. And this is probably the most unique way they've ever introduced a new transformation. The visuals are top notch. It's a part 2 of a season finale, so you gotta watch it. It's very captivating, very entertaining. A 25 out of 25 seems like an easy decision for this. Now let's go take care of these final thoughts. Thanks to our wonderful community, we were able to track down just about every missing ship. There are some that may have been designed just for this episode, but the ones that did have a source, y'all were able to find despite how tricky they were. An updated version of the list will be posted to Twitter soon, but I'd like to thank the following users to contributing to the hunt. And a special shout out to Darky_101 who found most of the ships, along with an unexpected reference in Rad Dudesman's ship, the Lovely Duck, whose interior was actually reused from the inside of the NASA ship from Classic. Great find. And when you take a look at the storyboards from this episode, Gwen actually has her first Omniverse design in the boards, along with Alien Force way big, the plumber's badge still looking like an Omnitrix, and having the old ship design. So it's interesting to see the comparisons and the changes of design 3 seasons into the show. There's also great moments in the storyboards that were cut for the final episode, like an additional scene of Argent trying to escape Plumber's headquarters, this kid's reaction, and some extended parts of the chase, like the gang driving the car down a narrow stairway and Rook having to run on the wall. And now taking a look at last week's poll, I asked y'all if you think Ben made the right decision leaving Earth to spare it from the way bad destruction. It looks like 93% of people said yes, where 7% of people said no. Originally, I was in the 7% that said no, but I do think the episode holds a lot of strong points in it being the correct decision, especially with the Omnitrix currently not working. Pretty convenient, huh? For this poll, I would like to ask you if you were fooled by the bullfrag twist. Let me know in the community tab when this video goes live. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And if I don't see you soon, have a great rest of your summer. And until next time, keep it fizzy.